My name is Helen Brennan. I'm 31 years old. One day before Thanksgiving, my father stood up in front of 18 people and said, "The best gift this family could get is if you disappeared." Before I could even set the wine bottle down, he pointed to an empty chair in the corner and said, "Sit over there. Don't ruin everyone's appetite." My mother didn't even look up. She just murmured, "Don't make a scene." My brother laughed and leaned toward me with that pitying smile. Not a single person at that table defended me. So be honest. If your own father said that at a family dinner, what would you do? Would you cry? Would you fight back? Or would you do what I did? I did exactly what he asked. I disappeared, the most devastating way possible. But first, I taped something to the refrigerator. 5 documents. One of them was an eviction notice. 30 days. What happened next didn't just ruin Thanksgiving. It destroyed a legacy they spent 35 years building. If you're still watching, subscribe and tell me where you're watching from. But to understand why I did it, you need to know what they never saw. The 9 years I spent holding everything together while they treated me like I was nothing. I'm an ICU nurse at Charlotte Presbyterian Hospital. My official salary is $68,000 a year. Before taxes, that's $5,667 a month. After taxes, about $4,200. My badge says RN Helen Brennan, ICU, night shift. I work 12-hour shifts, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., 3 to 4 nights a week, sometimes 5 when we're short-staffed. I've been doing this for 9 years. That's what my family sees. The nurse, the one who works nights, the one who's always tired, the one who never made it to medical school. What they don't see is the rest. I own 2 urgent care clinics in Charlotte. The first opened in 2019, the second in 2022. Last year's combined revenue, $1.2 million. My clinics employ 23 people, 4 physicians, 8 nurse practitioners, 11 support staff. I also consult for hospital systems, operational efficiency, revenue cycle management. They pay me between $800 and $1,200 an hour. Last year I billed 180 hours. Do the math. I invest in medical real estate, small buildings near hospitals, lease them to private practices. Current portfolio value, just under $2 million. In my work bag, I carry 2 sets of business cards. One says, RN Helen Brennan, ICU. The other says, H. Brennan, Healthcare Operations Consultant, MBA. The MBA is real. I finished it online in 2018. Night classes after night shifts. 2 years. My family never asked why I was always studying. They assumed I was trying to keep up with medical journals. I never corrected them. As a nurse, I'm trained to assess vitals, heart rate, blood pressure, oxygen saturation. You learn to see what's wrong before the patient knows they're crashing. I've been watching my family crash for years, and I was the only one keeping them alive. It started with a text message, text exchange. Mom to Helen, March 10th, 2016, 2:17 a.m. Mom. Your father is in his office. He won't come out. The bank sent another letter. I'm scared, Helen. I don't know what to do. Helen. No reply until 6:42 am. Mom. Please don't tell your brothers. They can't know about this. Helen. I'll call you after my shift. I called at 8:15 a.m. I just finished a 12-hour shift. A 23-year-old had coded twice. We got him back both times. My hands still smelled like latex gloves and hand sanitizer. How bad is it? I asked. My mother's voice was shaking. The house. They're going to foreclose. Your father. She couldn't finish. How much do you owe? $680,000. We have $12,000 in savings. Your father's retirement account is... It's gone, Helen. Something happened and he won't talk about it and I don't know what to do. I'll handle it, I said. Helen, you can't. I'll handle it. 3 days later, I met with a realtor, then a mortgage broker, then a closing attorney, Morrison and Associates, corner office on Tryon Street, 32nd floor. You could see the whole city from up there. March 15th, 2016, 2:30 p.m. I signed the property deed. Helen Marie Brennan, sole owner. Purchase price $680,000. Down payment $136,000. 20%. Every dollar I had in savings. Every dollar from selling my duplex the year before. Monthly mortgage $4,100. 30-year fixed rate at 3.75%. My mother sat next to me. She cried the whole time. Not grateful tears, ashamed tears. The attorney slid the paperwork across the desk. Congratulations, Ms. Brennan. You now own 4,382 Winthrop Lane. My mother grabbed my hand. We can't tell him. If your father knows we went behind his back, we'll tell him it's your inheritance, I said, from your grandmother. My mother didn't leave me anything. I know. Helen, that's the deal, I said. I pay, you lie, and he never knows. She promised. She swore she'd never tell. That was 9 years ago. She kept that promise until Thanksgiving. But there was something else I signed that week. Something my mother didn't know about. Email. Helen to attorney Sarah Chen, Morrison and Associates, March 12, 2016, 9:47 p.m. Subject: Settlement payment. Confidential. Sarah attached. Please find wire transfer confirmation for $520,000 from my business account, Brennan Healthcare Consulting, LLC, to the settlement account you provided. Please confirm. 1. Settlement is final. 2. Case will be sealed per court order 3. My name will not appear in any public documents. 4. My father will not be informed of the payment source. As discussed, the payment should appear as coming from third-party settlement fund. No further contact necessary. HB $520,000. 3 days before I bought my parents' house, I paid that. I paid it by selling my first urgent care clinic. The one I'd built from nothing. The one I'd spent 3 years growing. 16-hour days. Every weekend. Every holiday. I sold it in 4 days to a corporate healthcare group. Emergency sale. They knew I was desperate. They paid $605,000. Fair market value was probably $800. I took the loss. $520 went to the settlement. The rest became the down payment on 4,382 Winthrop Lane. I was 22 years old. I'd just given up everything I'd built to save a man who would spend the next 9 years introducing me as my daughter who didn't finish medical school. But there was one number I never told them. One transaction from 2016 that would explain everything. $520,000. And it wasn't for a house. It was for a patient. A 52-year-old man who left my father's operating room paralyzed from the waist down. My father is Dr. Charles Edward Brennan, retired orthopedic surgeon, 35 years of practice, over 8,000 surgeries. That's what he tells people. There's a hospital wing named after him, the Brennan Center for Orthopedic Excellence, Charlotte Presbyterian, East Wing, 4th floor. Dedicated in 2014. His name is on a bronze plaque in the lobby, 12 inches by 18 inches, mounted at eye level so everyone sees it. My oldest brother is Dr. Daniel Brennan, age 36, neurosurgeon, Johns Hopkins Fellowship, currently attending physician at Charlotte Neuroscience Institute. He operates on people's brains, aneurysms, tumors, spinal cord injuries. He makes $400,000 a year, plus bonuses. My younger brother is Dr. Christopher Brennan, age 33, cardiologist. He owns a 12% share of Carolina Heart Specialists, 12 physicians, 8 locations across Charlotte. Annual revenue $2.3 million. His cut last year was around $275,000. Both their wives have advanced degrees. Daniel's wife, Emily, has a PhD in molecular biology from Duke. She works at a biotech firm. Sophia, Christopher's wife, is a hospital administrator. She runs operations for a 200-bed facility. There's a family photo in my parents' living room, everyone in white coats, my father in the center, my brothers on either side, their wives next to them, the 5 kids in front, and me, On the far left, in scrubs, navy blue scrubs with a hospital logo, standing slightly apart, like I wandered into the wrong family portrait. That photo was taken in 2018, 2 years after I bought the house they were standing in. Nobody asked why I was in scrubs while everyone else had white coats. They just assumed. In the Brennan family, there's a hierarchy. Surgeons at the top, then specialists, then general practitioners, then nurses, then everyone else. I've been at the bottom my entire life. My father made sure of that. At hospital galas, at medical society dinners, at charity fundraisers, at country club events. Every time he introduced his family, the pattern was the same. These are my sons, Dr. Daniel Brennan, neurosurgeon, Dr. Christopher Brennan, cardiologist, and my daughter Helen. She works at the hospital. Not she's a nurse, just she works there. Like I cleaned floors. December 10th, 2023. My father's 60th birthday. Dinner at the Capitol Grill. Private dining room. 40 people. Doctors. Hospital board members. Medical device executives. People whose names were engraved on hospital equipment. Dinner cost $8,000. I know because I saw the invoice later. My mother had asked me to help with the deposit. I sent her $1,500. She never mentioned it again. My father stood to give a speech at 8:30 p.m. He'd had 3 bourbons by then. Woodford Reserve, neat. I counted. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight, he said. 60 years. 35 of them spent in medicine. I've been blessed. Truly blessed. He talked about his career, his achievements, his surgeries, the hospital wing. Then he talked about his legacy. I'm most proud of my sons, he said. Dr. Daniel Brennan and Dr. Christopher Brennan. They followed in my footsteps. They're carrying on the Brennan name in medicine. When I look at them, I see everything I worked for, everything I built. He raised his glass. To the next generation of Brennan physicians. Everyone applauded, glasses clinked, cameras flashed. Then my father looked at me. And my daughter Helen, she found her own path. God bless her. The room laughed, polite laughter, knowing laughter. The kind of laughter that says everyone understands the unspoken part. She found her own path equals. She couldn't handle medical school. She found her own path equals. She settled for less. She found her own path equals. She wasn't smart enough. I smiled. I held my wine glass. I nodded. And I thought about a number. $4,100. The mortgage payment I'd made 3 days earlier. On the house he was celebrating in. On the house he thought he owned. On the house that allowed him to host 40 people for an $8,000 dinner. I thought about the 105 payments I'd made before that one. $430,500 total. I thought about the $520,000 I'd paid in 2016. The settlement he never knew about. The career I'd saved. The reputation I'd protected. And I smiled wider. Because as a nurse, I've learned something important. Sometimes the most critical intervention is the one the patient never knows happened. I was the silent code blue team for my family, and they never even knew they were coding. But there were signs. Small ones. Cracks in the facade. My father drank more. By 2023, it was 3 bourbons every night, sometimes 4. He kept the bottle in his study, a crystal decanter on the shelf. He thought nobody noticed. I noticed. Text exchange. Mom to Helen, July 14th, 2023, 11:42 p.m. Mom, your father is having a hard week. Helen. What happened? Mom. Someone at the hospital mentioned 2016. He locked himself in his study. He won't talk to me. Helen. Does he know I... Mom. No, and he can't. Ever. Please, Helen. He can't handle it. Helen. Okay. Mom. Thank you. I don't know what I'd do without you. My mother sent me messages like that 8 times over 9 years, always late at night, always the same theme. He's fragile. He can't know. Please don't tell him. At least 30 times I drove to their house at 3 a.m. I had a key. I'd let myself in quietly. I'd check on them, make sure my father was breathing, make sure he hadn't taken too many sleeping pills with the bourbon. I'd find him passed out in his study. I'd turn off the lights, cover him with a blanket, leave a glass of water and 2 aspirin on his desk. Then I'd leave before sunrise, before they woke up. They never knew I'd been there. At Thanksgiving 2022, my brother Christopher mentioned it, just once. "Dad seems paranoid lately," he said. "Anyone else notice?" Nobody answered. The conversation moved on, but I'd noticed. I'd been noticing for 6 years, because I knew what he was paranoid about. I knew what happened in 2016, and I was the only one keeping that secret buried. November 27th, 2024. Wednesday. The day before Thanksgiving. I woke up at 11 a.m. I'd worked a 12-hour shift the night before, got home at 8:15 a.m., slept 3 hours. My body was still on night shift time. It would be for another few days. My phone showed 23 text messages from my mother, all from the past week. The most recent one came at 11:45 a.m. Text, Mom to Helen, November 27th, 11:45 a.m. Can you come early? I need help with the linens, and your father is in a mood. Please just keep the peace. For me. I stared at that text for a long time. Keep the peace. I'd been keeping the peace for 9 years. $442,800 worth of peace, plus $520,000 in settlement money. $962,800. That's what peace cost. I texted back, "I'll be there at 2:30. I left my condo at 1:55 p.m. I live in South End, 14th floor, 1 bedroom, 900 square feet. I rent it even though I could afford to buy. I like the freedom of knowing I can leave anytime. The drive to my parents' house, my house, takes 35 minutes without traffic, 42 minutes with traffic. I took Providence Road to Fairview, then Winthrop, left on Roswell, third house on the right, 4,382 Winthrop Lane, brick colonial, 4 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms, 4,800 square feet, built in 1998, assessed value as of 2024, $980,000. I arrived at exactly 2:30 p.m. The temperature was 38 degrees, overcast. Gray clouds. Smelled like rain, but the forecast said it wouldn't come until Friday. I carried 2 bottles of wine, Pinot Noir, $85 each from the wine shop on Selwyn. I brought flowers, a $60 arrangement from the florist next door, white roses and eucalyptus, and I brought one more thing, a framed photograph, black and white, 8 by 10, professional print. It showed our family standing in front of a house. Not this house. The old house. The one from 2015. The one on Eastover Drive. The one they'd lived in for 18 years before the foreclosure notice came. I'd found the photo in a box in my storage unit 3 weeks ago. I'd had it professionally framed, $95 at the frame shop. My mother saw it when I set it on the kitchen counter. Her face went pale. "Why did you bring that?" she asked. "It's part of our history," I said. "Your father won't like it." "I know." I walked into the living room. I placed the frame on the mantel, right between my father's Physician of the Year award from 2013 and his Distinguished Service plaque from the hospital board. The contrast was intentional. Old house, lost house, foreclosed house, new awards, new respect, new reputation. All of it built on money they didn't earn. The guests started arriving at 4:30 p.m. My father opened the door for each one. Big smile, firm handshake. "So glad you could make it." By 5 p.m., everyone was there. 18 people total. Let me tell you exactly who witnessed what happened next. The family, 1. Dr. Charles Brennan, my father, age 66 2. Eleanor Brennan, my mother, age 63 3. Dr. Daniel Brennan, my brother, age 36 4. Emily Brennan, Daniel's wife, age 35 5. Aidan Brennan, Daniel's son, age 8 6. Lily Brennan, Daniel's daughter, age 6 7. Dr. Christopher Brennan, my brother, age 33 8. Sophia Brennan, Christopher's wife, age 32 9. Emma Brennan, Christopher's daughter, age 8. The extended family, 10. Dr. Judith Caldwell, my father's sister, age 68. Retired pediatrician 11. Dr. Samuel Brennan, my father's brother, age 70. Retired internist. The friends/colleagues 12. Dr. Lawrence Mitchell, my father's best friend, age 67. Retired orthopedic surgeon 13. Carol Mitchell, Lawrence's wife, age 65. Former hospital board member 14. Dr. Patricia Vance, my mother's college friend, age 64, psychiatrist 15. Thomas Vance, Patricia's husband, age 66, attorney 16. Dr. Angela Rodriguez, current orthopedic surgeon, age 58, dad's former colleague 17. Kenneth Rodriguez, Angela's husband, age 60, hospital CFO 18. Helen Brennan, me, age 31, ICU nurse. 4 active physicians, 3 retired physicians, 1 psychiatrist, 1 attorney, 1 hospital CFO. If this were a trial, I couldn't have picked better witnesses. By 5:15 p.m., everyone was in the living room, drinking, talking. The men gathered near the fireplace discussing golf handicaps and stock portfolios. The women clustered near the windows talking about their kids' college applications. I was in the kitchen with my mother. That's where I always was. The kitchen. Doing the practical work. My mother was pulling dishes out of cabinets. Her hands were shaking. "Did you order the catering?" she asked quietly. "No," I said. She stopped. "What?" "I canceled it." "Helen, you canceled when?" "2 days ago." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Why would you do that?" "You'll see," I said. For 8 years, I'd ordered Thanksgiving catering. Charlotte Gourmet Company Premium Holiday Package, $3,200. Heritage Turkey, 22 pounds. Brined for 48 hours. Herb butter under the skin. Roasted to 165 degrees internal temperature. Truffle mac and cheese. Made with Gruyere, Fontina, and white cheddar. Fresh thyme. Panko crust. Bourbon glazed carrots. Maple mashed sweet potatoes. Green bean almondine. Cranberry orange relish. Cornbread stuffing with sage and andouille sausage. 3 desserts. Bourbon pecan pie. Pumpkin cheesecake. Apple tart with vanilla bean ice cream. Every year, the same order. Every year, delivered at 2 p.m. on Thanksgiving Day. Every year my father would say to the guests, "Eleanor's been cooking since Tuesday, she's incredible." And my mother would smile and say, "It's nothing, I love doing it." She never cooked any of it. She reheated it, transferred it to serving dishes, made it look homemade. I paid for all of it. $3,200 every November. This year I canceled it. Email, Helen to Charlotte Gourmet Company, November 25th, 2024, 9:14 a.m. Subject, cancellation, order number 8291. Please cancel my Thanksgiving order for November 28th, 2024. Order number 8291. Full catering service for 18 people. Total, $3,200. I understand the cancellation fee is 20% per your policy. Please charge my card on file. No need to reply. H. Brennan. I paid the $640 cancellation fee without blinking, and I watched my mother panic. She'd gone to the grocery store at 6 a.m. that morning. She bought a frozen butterball turkey, 12 pounds, $19.99, a box of stovetop stuffing, 2 cans of Ocean Spray cranberry sauce, A bag of frozen green beans. Total cost. Maybe $80. At 5:30 p.m., Dr. Mitchell walked past the kitchen. He glanced at the counter, at the opened box of stuffing, the cans of cranberry sauce. He looked confused. At 6 p.m., during cocktails, Carol Mitchell said to my mother, "Eleanor, do you need help with anything? You usually have everything ready by now." My mother forced a smile. "I'm keeping it simple this year." "Oh," Carol said. "That's nice. Different from usual, though. I was looking forward to your truffle mac and cheese." My mother's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Change of plans." I stood in the doorway, watching, saying nothing. As a nurse, I know what it looks like when someone's vitals are crashing. Elevated heart rate, shallow breathing, pale skin, trembling hands. My mother was coding, and I was the only one who could save her. But this time, I wasn't going to. We sat down for dinner at 6:15 p.m. The dining table seats 22 people. It's a custom piece, walnut, 12 feet long. My parents bought it in 2017, $7,800. I know because my mother called me crying about the credit card bill. I sent her $4,000 the next week. An early Christmas gift, I told her. She never paid me back. Tonight, 18 people sat at that table. I was at the far end, next to Emma, my 8-year-old niece, across from Dr. Patricia Vance, the psychiatrist. Perfect positioning. I could see everyone. Everyone could see me. The conversation was light at first, easy, safe. Daniel talked about his new lake house. "We closed last week," he said. "Norman Lake. 1.8 million, 6 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, private dock, 3-car garage, built in 2021. Christopher leaned forward. "How much land?" 2.3 acres, waterfront. We've got 180 feet of lake access. "Jesus," Christopher said. "That's incredible." Daniel grinned. "You and Sophia should come up for New Year's. We're having a party. Catered, fireworks, the whole thing." "We'll bring the boat," Christopher said. "You bought a boat?" Dr. Mitchell asked. "Last summer, 28-footer, Yamaha engines, cost me $120,000. For a boat." Everyone at the table murmured appreciation. "Congratulations, how wonderful." Dr. Mitchell raised his glass. "Charles, you must be so proud. Both your sons, doctors, successful, family men, following in your footsteps." My father was on his third bourbon. I'd been counting. He'd started at 5 p.m., one every 45 minutes. He smiled. That broad smile he used at hospital galas. "I am proud," he said. "I truly am. You know, when you build a career in medicine, you hope your children will understand the value of it, the legacy of it. You hope they'll carry it forward." He looked at Daniel, then Christopher. "Both my boys did that. They built on what I started. That's what matters. Passing something on, creating something that lasts." The table nodded, agreed, raised glasses. My father kept talking. "It's about standards," he said. "Excellence. Not settling. Not taking the easy path." Christopher jumped in. "Exactly. That's what Dad taught us. Aim high, don't settle." He looked at me. Not obviously, just a glance, a flicker. "At least some of us made something of ourselves," he said. The table laughed. Nervous laughter. Polite laughter. I was standing by then. I'd gotten up to refill drinks. I was holding a wine bottle, a $90 Pinot Noir I'd brought. I was pouring for Dr. Mitchell. Red or white? He'd asked for red. I was mid-sentence. "Dr. Mitchell, would you prefer—" That's when my father turned to me, really looked at me, and I saw it. That look. The one I'd seen 100 times before. The one that said, "You're an embarrassment." I knew what was coming. My heart rate increased. I felt it. 110 beats per minute, then 120. As a nurse, I'm trained to recognize my own stress response, but I kept pouring. Steady hands, professional. 6:47 p.m. I know the exact time because I glanced at the clock on the wall, the one above the buffet. The antique clock my parents bought in 2018. $400. My father set down his bourbon glass. He looked at me. Then he looked at the table. You know what, Helen? He said. The room started to quiet. You want to know what the best Thanksgiving gift would be? I stopped pouring. The wine bottle hovered over Dr. Mitchell's glass. One drop of red wine fell. It hit the white linen tablecloth. Spread. A small red stain. If you just disappeared from this family, my father said. His voice was steady, calm, like he was ordering coffee. Just for once. We could have one holiday. He waved his hand, dismissive, without the reminder. Dr. Vance started to say something. Charles. My father held up his hand. No, I'm serious. Look at this table. He gestured around the room. Doctors, professionals, people who made something of their lives, people who had the discipline to finish what they started. He looked directly at me. And then there's you, playing nurse, wasting your potential. It's embarrassing, Helen. It's been embarrassing for 31 years. Silence. Complete silence. 28 seconds. That's how long it took him to say all of that. I counted the seconds that followed. 1, 2, 3. Carol Mitchell gasped. A small intake of breath. 4, 5. Sophia looked down at her plate. 6, 7. My mother's hand reached toward my father's arm, then pulled back. She looked at her lap. 8. Daniel's face showed discomfort, but his mouth stayed closed. Christopher looked relieved. His eyes said, Better you than me. Dr. Mitchell looked at me with pity. That particular kind of pity reserved for lost causes. Dr. Vance, the psychiatrist, watched me like I was a patient. Clinical assessment, evaluating my response. Thomas Vance, the attorney, shifted in his seat, uncomfortable but unwilling to intervene. Dr. Rodriguez stared at her wine glass. The kids, Aiden, Lily, Emma, looked confused. Emma looked at me, then at her father, back to me, and my mother. My mother who'd sent me 23 texts that week. Please keep the peace. Don't make a scene. He's in a mood. My mother who'd known for 9 years that I owned this house, that I'd saved my father's career, that I'd paid $520,000 to protect his reputation. My mother who'd watched me pay $4,100 every single month for 108 months. She didn't say a word. 8 seconds of silence. In those 8 seconds, I did the math. 108 payments, $4,100 each. $442,800. Divided by the number of times he'd humiliated me publicly. At least 15 times that I could remember. Major events. Hospital galas. Charity dinners, family weddings, family. That's $29,520 per humiliation, plus the $520,000 settlement. Plus the 3 years I spent building a business I sold in 4 days. Plus the 30 times I drove here at 3 a.m. Plus 9 years of keeping his secret. 8 seconds. And then I knew exactly what I was going to do. I put the wine bottle down, very carefully, centered it exactly in the middle of the side table. Then I looked at every single face at that table. Starting on my left, Dr. Mitchell. Pity. Carol Mitchell. Shock. Dr. Vance. Clinical curiosity. Thomas Vance. Discomfort. My mother. Guilt. Fear. But still silent. My father. Satisfaction. Like he'd finally said what he'd been wanting to say for years. Dr. Rodriguez. Second-hand embarrassment. Kenneth Rodriguez. Looking away. Aunt Judith. Sadness. But no words. Uncle Samuel. Same. Christopher. Relief. Sophia, awkward. Daniel, uncomfortable. Emily, pity. Similar to Dr. Mitchell. And the kids. 3 kids under 10, watching an adult be destroyed at a dinner table. 18 people. 18 witnesses. Not one of them said a word. Not one of them stood up for me. Not even my mother. Especially not my mother. I picked up my purse from the floor beside my chair. I picked up my car keys from the buffet. My mother's voice. Helen, wait. So quiet. So weak. The same weak voice she'd used every time I asked if we should tell my father the truth. Not yet. He's fragile. He can't handle it. 9 years of that voice. I opened the front door. The cold air hit me. 38 degrees. It felt clean. 6:52 p.m. 5 minutes since my father told me to disappear. I walked to my car. 2019 Honda Accord. Reliable. Paid off. Nothing flashy. I sat in the driver's seat. I didn't start the engine. I sat there for 3 minutes, thinking. As a nurse, I'm trained to make critical decisions under pressure. When a patient is coding, you don't have time to debate. You assess, you decide, you act. My family had been coding for 9 years. I'd been running the code, doing chest compressions, pushing medications, keeping them alive. But tonight, I realized something. Sometimes the most important decision you can make is when to call time of death. Sometimes the patient is already gone. You're just keeping the body warm. I started the engine. I drove to Secure Space, Charlotte. 22 minutes. I had work to do. Secure Space. Charlotte is on Monroe Road, 3 miles past the hospital where I work. I've rented Unit 8E for 9 years, $95 per month, automatically charged to my credit card on the 1st of every month. 9 years times 12 months times $95, $10,260. That's what it costs to store the evidence of my family's lies. I arrived at 7:15 p.m. The facility is open 24 hours. Keycard access. Security cameras on every hallway. I walked to the 3rd floor. Turned left. Unit 8E is at the end of the hall. 10 by 10 feet. Climate controlled. Concrete walls. Fluorescent lights. Inside, 4 fireproof filing cabinets. Gray metal. 4 drawers each. 16 drawers total, each drawer labeled. Property. 2016 to 2024. Mortgage. Monthly statements. Settlement. Legal documents. Bank records. Personal and business. Medical. Dad's records. HIPAA-compliant copies obtained legally. Correspondence. Emails and texts. Witnesses. Contact info and statements. Evidence. Miscellaneous. I opened the property drawer first. Inside, manila folders, organized chronologically. I pulled the one labeled Deed and Lease, Original Documents. Inside that folder, Original Property Deed. Dated March 15th, 2016. Notarized. Helen Marie Brennan, sole owner. Original Lease Agreement. Same date. Tenant. Charles and Eleanor Brennan. Rent. $1 per year. 30-day termination clause. Title insurance policy. My name. Homeowner's insurance policy. My name. Property tax receipts. Every year. Paid by me. I'd organized these folders in 2021, 3 years ago. The year my father gave a speech at Daniel's promotion dinner. 45 people attended. My father talked for 12 minutes about the legacy of excellence in the Brennan family. He mentioned Daniel 14 times, Christopher 9 times, my mother twice, me 0 times. That night, after the dinner, I drove here, to this storage unit, and I organized everything, every document, every receipt, every piece of evidence, just in case I ever needed to prove I existed. At the bottom of the property folder, there was a document I drafted 6 months ago. An eviction notice. Official legal template. Downloaded from the North Carolina Bar Association website. Filled out. Everything except the date. I'd left the date blank. Now I pulled out a pen. Black ink. Fine point. I wrote, November 28th, 2024, 30 days from Thanksgiving. The irony wasn't lost on me. I pulled 3 more folders. Mortgage. Monthly statements. Every payment from March 2016 to November 2024, 108 payments, $4,100 each. Settlement. The Morrison and Associates file, including the sealed court documents, the settlement agreement, the wire transfer confirmation, bank records, my business account showing the sale of my first clinic. $605,000 deposited, $520,000 immediately withdrawn. 4 folders total. I spent 11 minutes in that unit. I knew exactly where everything was, because I'd been preparing for this moment for 3 years. I drove back, 18 minutes. I drove faster this time, 75 miles per hour on Providence Road, 80 on Fairview. Purpose, focus, clarity. As a nurse, I've learned that the worst thing you can do in an emergency is hesitate. You assess, you decide, you execute. I was executing now. 7:43 p.m. I pulled into the driveway. There were still 16 cars. 2 had left, Dr. Rodriguez and her husband. They must have left right after I did. I walked in through the front door. Nobody heard me at first. They were in the dining room, still at the table. Dessert service, store-bought pumpkin pie, Cool Whip, paper plates. The contrast to previous years was stark. People were on their phones, having quiet, awkward conversations. The energy was dead. My father was on his 4th bourbon, maybe his 5th. I couldn't tell anymore. He was explaining something to Dr. Mitchell. I caught fragments. Always been sensitive. Overreacts to everything. I was just being honest. My mother was in the kitchen, crying quietly. Aunt Judith was with her, rubbing her back. I walked past Dr. Mitchell. Helen, he said, we were just... Excuse me, Dr. Mitchell. My voice was calm, steady, professional. I walked straight to the kitchen. 16 people watched me. Nobody stopped me. I walked like I was moving through water, slow, deliberate, every step intentional. I walked to the refrigerator, stainless steel, French door, LG brand. My parents bought it in 2019, $2,800. My mother called me crying about that too. I sent her $1,500. Now I stood in front of it. I set my black leather folder on the counter. I unzipped it. Inside, 5 documents, printed on white paper, standard letter size, 8.5 by 11 inches, and a roll of clear packing tape, 2 inches wide, heavy duty. I pulled out the first document. Dr. Vance stood up. The attorney. He walked closer. My mother stopped crying. She watched. My father stayed seated, but his eyes were on me. 16 people, all watching. Nobody spoke. I pressed the first piece of tape to the refrigerator door. The sound echoed in the silence. A sharp click as the tape pulled from the roll. Then the soft press as I smoothed it down. Every single person in that house heard it. I taped it at eye level, dead center of the refrigerator door. The document was simple, clean, official. Property deed, State of North Carolina, Mecklenburg County. Property address, 4382, Winthrop Lane, Charlotte, NC 28210. Grantor, First National Bank of Charlotte. Grantee, Helen Marie Brennan. Purchase price, $680,000. Date, March 15, 2016. Recorded, March 16, 2016. Book 12847, page 293. At the bottom, the notary seal. Official, legal, undeniable. Gasps. Carol Mitchell, Sophia. I heard Dr. Vance whisper, "My God." I taped it directly next to the deed. Residential lease agreement. Landlord, Helen Marie Brennan. Tenant, Charles and Eleanor Brennan. Property address, 4382. Winthrop Lane, Charlotte, North Carolina. 28210 monthly. Rent, $1 per year. Lease term, annual renewal, terminable by landlord with 30 days written notice. Date, March 15th, 2016. Both my parents' signatures at the bottom. Both of them had signed. They'd both known. Dr. Vance stepped even closer, put on his reading glasses, read every word. "Jesus Christ," he whispered. One page, I'd created it this morning, printed from my online banking portal. Mortgage account summary, account. Holder, Helen M. Brennan. Property, 4382 Winthrop Lane. Account number, 6291. Monthly payment, $4,100. Payment, date, 1st of each month. Payments made, 108, March 2016 to November 2024. Total paid, $442,800. Current balance, $389,000. I taped it below the lease. Daniel stood up, walked over, stared at the numbers. "Is this real?" he whispered to Emily. Emily didn't answer. She was staring too. This one was partially redacted. I'd blacked out the patient's name with a marker, but the rest was visible. Confidential settlement agreement. Morrison and Associates, attorneys at law. Case, redacted, versus Dr. Charles Edward Brennan. Settlement amount, $520,000. Payment source, Helen M. Brennan, third party. Date, March 12, 2016. Status, case sealed per court order. Case number 1, 6CV 8829. At the bottom, signatures, the patient's attorney, Morrison and Associates, and a line that said, "Third-party payment accepted in full satisfaction of judgment." I taped it next to the bank statement. My father stood up. "Helen, what are you—" I held up one finger. One finger. That's all. He stopped talking. 16 people held their breath. Document number 5, Eviction Notice Official Form, downloaded from the NC Bar Association. 30-day notice to vacate. Date November 28, 2024. To Charles and Eleanor Brennan. From Helen Marie Brennan, landlord. Property, 4382. Winthrop Lane, Charlotte, North Carolina, 28210. Reason, termination of lease agreement per Section 4. B. Vacate. Date, December 28, 2024. Notice, failure to vacate by the specified date will result in formal eviction proceedings pursuant to NC. General Statute Section 4226. Law enforcement may be contacted to ensure compliance. I taped it at the very top, centered above everything else. 12 pieces of tape total, pressed down firmly, deliberately. The refrigerator looked like a prosecutor's evidence board, which, I suppose it was. I stepped back, looked at my work, then I turned around. 16 faces staring at me. "You have 30 days, I said. My voice was steady, calm, like I was giving discharge instructions to a patient. "After that, you're trespassing in my house." For 3 seconds, nobody moved. Then Dr. Mitchell spoke. "Charles," his voice was quiet, careful. "What is this? What settlement?" My father's face had gone white. Actually, white, like someone had drained the blood from it. "It's nothing," he said. "A misunderstanding. Helen, where did you get these documents? This is private." "Private?" I said. "You mean sealed. Sealed by court order. Because in February 2016, a 52-year-old patient went into your operating room for a routine knee replacement, and he left paralyzed from the waist down." The room went silent again. The hospital investigated. They found evidence of judgment impairment. You'd had 3 drinks before the procedure. It was in the incident report. The hospital gave you a choice: retire quietly with your reputation intact, or face a public trial where all of it would come out. Dr. Vance, the psychiatrist, stared at my father. Charles, is this true? My father said nothing. Thomas Vance, the attorney, leaned closer to document number 4. The settlement. The payment structure is unusual, he said. Third-party payment. That's typically done to conceal the payer's identity from the defendant. He looked at me. Helen, you paid $520,000? Yes. How did you? I sold my business. My first urgent care clinic. I'd spent 3 years building it. 14-hour days, every weekend, every holiday. I sold it in 4 days to a corporate healthcare group. Emergency sale. They knew I was desperate. They paid $605,000. Fair market value was probably closer to $800,000. I took the loss. My voice was still calm, clinical, like I was presenting a case study. The hospital's insurance covered $280,000. My father owed $520,000. He had $12,000 in savings. His retirement account was empty. He'd drained it trying to pay the patient's initial medical bills before the lawsuit was filed. I looked at my father. You couldn't afford the settlement. The hospital was going to let it go to trial. Your name would have been in the newspaper. The medical board would have investigated. You would have lost everything. My father tried to speak. It was a complication. These things happen in surgery. The complication was your blood alcohol level, I said. 0.08. That was in the incident report too. Dr. Rodriguez gasped. You operated drunk? She said. Christopher's voice cut through. You knew? He was staring at my mother. Mom, you knew about all of this? My mother's face crumpled. 8:14 p.m. She'd held it together for 29 minutes since I'd taped the documents to the refrigerator. Now she broke. I couldn't tell him, she said, crying. Helen made me promise. No, I said, my voice sharp. Don't put this on me. You couldn't tell him because you were afraid he'd leave you. That's what you said. I remember the exact words, March 15th, 2016. We were sitting in the attorney's office. You looked at me and said, if your father finds out I went behind his back, he'll never forgive me. He'll leave. I'll have nothing. My mother sobbed. You don't understand. His pride. His pride? I said. I worked 5 years of night shifts to pay for this house, 12-hour shifts, 3 to 4 nights a week. While you told everyone I was finding myself, I gave up my business, my dream, to save his career. I showed up here at 3 in the morning 30 times because you texted me that he was having a bad night. And you never once defended me, not once in 31 years, Aunt Judith spoke. Eleanor, you knew Helen bought this house? My mother nodded, still crying. The bank was going to foreclose, she said. We were going to lose everything. Your father was devastated. He wouldn't leave his study. He stopped eating. And Helen said she had money. She said she could fix it. And we agreed to tell Charles it was my inheritance. Daniel interrupted. There was no inheritance? Grandma didn't leave you anything? My mother shook her head. Christopher looked at me. So we've been living in your house for 9 years? Yes, I said. And you paid the mortgage every month? $4,100. First of every month. 108 payments. $442,800 total. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, showed him the screen. Automatic payment scheduled for December 1st, 2024. $4,100. I was going to make payment 109 in 3 days, I said. But now I'm not. Christopher asked the question that changed everything. The malpractice case, he said slowly. I remember 2016. You retired in March. Suddenly, you said it was planned, that you'd always wanted to retire at 60. He looked at our father. But it wasn't planned, was it? My father's hands were shaking. I was not fired. I chose. You were given an option, I said. Forced retirement with your reputation intact, or a public trial. The hospital's insurance covered $280,000. You owed $520,000. You chose retirement. You chose to let your 22-year-old daughter sell her business to save you. Dr. Vance stood. Charles, you let your daughter, a child, pay over $500,000 to protect your reputation? I didn't know, my father said. I swear I didn't know. Because I didn't want you to know, I said. Because Mom begged me. She said if you found out we'd helped you, you'd never be able to look at us again. So I paid it anonymously. Through the attorney. Morrison and Associates handled everything. The settlement was paid from a third-party settlement fund. Your name stayed clean. You got to retire as Dr. Charles Brennan, distinguished 35-year career. And I got to be just a nurse. Uncle Samuel spoke for the first time. The hospital board asked me to stay quiet about something in 2016, he said. I didn't know what, but they said it was sensitive, family matter. I should have asked more questions. I'm sorry, Helen. Aunt Judith wiped her eyes. I always knew something happened that year. Charles, you stopped calling me, stopped coming to family events. I thought you were just busy. By then, 7 people had left. Dr. Mitchell, Carol, Dr. Rodriguez and her husband, 2 other couples. 9 people remained. My father looked at me, really looked at me. His eyes were red. Bourbon. Shame. Maybe both. You ruined me, he said. I laughed. Actually laughed. It wasn't a happy laugh. It was the laugh of someone who'd just realized how absurd everything was. No, Dad, I said. I picked up my purse. I saved you, 9 years ago, and you never even said thank you. I walked toward the door. Helen, my mother started. Don't, I said. I left at 9:18 p.m. 3 hours and 26 minutes after my father told me to disappear. I didn't look back. The next morning, my phone started ringing. November 28th, 2024. Thanksgiving Day, 7:43 a.m. My father, calling. I didn't answer. He called again at 8:15 a.m., then 9:30 a.m., then 11 a.m. By the end of Thanksgiving Day, he'd called 12 times. Over the next 30 days, he called 89 times total. I answered 0. My mother started texting. Text, Mom to Helen, November 28th, 6:52 a.m. Please call me. We need to talk about this. Your father didn't mean what he said. He was drinking. He's sorry. Mom, 11:34 a.m. Helen, please, it's Thanksgiving. Can we just talk? Mom, 4:17 p.m. You're destroying this family. Mom, 9:28 p.m. I know you're angry, but this is going too far. Please. Over 30 days, she sent 156 text messages. I replied once, December 3rd, 2:14 p.m. I hope it was worth it. Daniel called on December 1st. Helen, can we meet? Just talk? I want to help. Help how? I don't know. Money? I can give you money. To cover whatever you need. How much? 50,000? I almost laughed again. Daniel, the settlement was 520,000, 9 years ago. I don't need 50,000. Okay, what do you need? Nothing from you. I hung up. Christopher tried a different approach. He showed up at my condo on December 8th, 6:30 p.m. I saw him on the security camera. Didn't answer. He texted, I'm outside. Can we please talk? We're family. I texted back, Are we? He left after 20 minutes. The only person I answered was Aunt Judith. December 10th. She called at 11 a.m. I'm proud of you, she said. I didn't say anything. I didn't trust my voice. I should have said that years ago, she continued. I should have defended you. At the dinners, at the parties. When Charles introduced you like you were less. I'm sorry. Thank you, I whispered. Do you need anything? No, I'm okay. Are you really? I will be. December 28th, 2024, 3 p.m. Exactly 30 days after the eviction notice. I went back to the house one last time. My parents had moved out the day before. They were living in Christopher's guest house. Above his 3-car garage, 1,200 square feet, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, kitchenette. I walked through the empty rooms, 4,800 square feet, all empty. I didn't take anything except my personal belongings, some clothes I'd left in the guest room closet, a few books, a photo of my grandmother. I left the furniture, the dishes, everything. On the kitchen counter, I left the framed photograph, the one of the old house, the 2015 house they'd almost lost. I didn't leave a note. There was nothing left to say. The story spread. Not from me. I didn't tell anyone. But Dr. Mitchell asked questions. He was on the hospital board, had been for 15 years. He started asking about 2016. About my father's retirement. About sealed cases. By January 2025, there was an informal investigation. They didn't find anything criminal. The settlement was legal. The case was properly sealed. But people knew something had happened. And people talked. My father's name was quietly removed from consideration for the Lifetime Achievement Award at the Charlotte Medical Society Gala. The gala was scheduled for March 2025. He'd been a finalist, expected to win. They gave it to someone else. Didn't even invite him to attend. The invitations stopped coming. The annual Hospital Foundation dinner, the Medical Society's spring fundraiser, the charity golf tournament. 8 out of 12 of his closest colleagues stopped calling. The phrase that circulated through Charlotte's medical community, the Brennan who held it together wasn't even a doctor. I heard it from a colleague at the hospital. She didn't know I was the Brennan she was talking about. Daniel's wife Emily filed for separation in February 2025. The official reason? Irreconcilable differences. The real reason? She couldn't handle the shame. Couldn't handle the whispers at her biotech firm. Couldn't handle people asking, "Is your husband related to that surgeon?" Christopher's cardiology practice lost 3 referring physicians. They didn't say why, just quietly started sending patients elsewhere. Cost to his practice, approximately $180,000 annually. The Brennan legacy my father had spent 35 years building? It didn't disappear. It just stopped being his. I listed the house on January 15th, 2025. I hired a real estate agent. Professional photos, virtual tour, open houses. It sold in 6 weeks. February 28th, 2025. Closing date. Sale price, $1,020,000. After paying off the mortgage, closing costs, and agent fees, I netted $340,000. I deposited it in my business account. On June 2nd, 2025, I opened my 3rd urgent care clinic. Brennan Health Partners, East Side. The sign went up at 9 a.m. Big letters, blue and white, professional, not Dr. Brennan Health Partners, just Brennan. My name, my legacy. Total annual revenue across all 3 clinics, $1.85 million. My personal salary, $195,000, plus profit sharing. I hired 12 new staff members for the East Side location, 4 nurse practitioners, 3 medical assistants, 2 front desk, 1 office manager, 2 techs. Total employees across all 3 clinics, 35 people. 35 people who call me Helen, not Dr. Brennan's daughter, not the nurse, just Helen. I bought my own condo in April 2025. South End, 20th floor, 2 bedrooms, 1,300 square feet. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Purchase price, $425,000. I paid cash, no mortgage, no landlord, no lease, just me. The deed has one name on it, Helen Marie Brennan. The first time in my life I've owned property that I actually get to live in. I furnished it exactly how I wanted. Modern, clean, minimal, white walls, light wood floors, plants, lots of plants. In the living room, I hung one piece of art, a print of a quote by Maya Angelou. You may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. I read it every morning. It reminds me who I am and who I'm not anymore. April 18th, 2025. A letter arrived at my clinic. My office manager brought it to me. This came for you, personal, hand-delivered. It was in a cream-colored envelope, my name handwritten on the front, fountain pen, my father's handwriting. I didn't open it for 3 days. On day 4, I did. 3 pages, handwritten, same fountain pen. Dear Helen, I was wrong. I know that doesn't change anything. I know it doesn't fix what I did, what I said, what I've been saying for 31 years. I was proud, too proud to admit I needed help, too proud to admit I'd failed, too proud to see that the person holding everything together was the one I kept pushing away. I was ashamed of the malpractice case, of losing our money, of needing my daughter to save me. So I lashed out. I made you the target of all my shame. I didn't know how to thank you without admitting I needed you. And I couldn't admit I needed you without destroying the image I had of myself. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Dad. I read it 11 times over 3 weeks. On May 9th, I replied, 1 page, handwritten. Dad, I forgive you. I need you to know that. I forgive you for what you said, for what you didn't say, for what you didn't see. But I don't trust you. Maybe someday, but not today. I hope you understand the difference. Helen. I mailed it. No return address. I didn't want him showing up at my clinic. Not yet. Maybe not ever. 9.2. The one who got it. 160 words. My mother sent her own letter. May 2nd. 1 paragraph. I was afraid. If I defended you, he'd leave me. And I'd have nothing. I chose wrong. I know that now. I'm sorry. I didn't reply. May 15th, 2025. A different envelope arrived. Child's handwriting on the front. Inside, a drawing. Crayon. Bright colors. A woman in scrubs with a red cape. Above her head, in purple letters, Aunt Helen is my hero. At the bottom, I want to be a nurse like you when I grow up. Dad said you're the strongest person he knows. I love you. Emma, I cried. For the first time since Thanksgiving. I sent Emma a gift the next day. A stethoscope. Real one. Littman. Her name engraved on the chest piece. Emma Brennan, future nurse. With a note. For when you're ready, love, Aunt Helen. 9.3. The final insight. 140 words. That drawing is on my office wall now, right next to my business license, right next to my MBA diploma. All 3 say Brennan, and for the first time in my life, I'm proud of that name. People ask me if I regret it, losing my family. Here's what I tell them. I didn't lose my family that Thanksgiving. I lost the illusion that I ever had one, and what I found was something better. I found my worth. It was never hiding in their approval. It was in the deed to that house, in the $520,000 I paid when no one was watching, in every 3 a.m. drive, in every mortgage payment. My worth was always there. I was just the last one to see it. The best gift my father ever gave me was telling me to disappear, because when I did, I finally appeared. To myself. My name is Helen Brennan. I'm 32 years old, and I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.